Ohio State loses to IU 65-71. Credit to IU. They played a really good game in this one. They were dominant down low. Ohio State couldn't buy a layup for stretches of this game. Khalil Ware was just a dominant shot blocker. He looked like Zach Edey out there from time to time with how he was able to protect the rim and make things happen. And at the end of the day, it just wasn't Ohio State's night. Their star guards, Bruce Thornton and Roddy Gayle, combined for like 0 of 13 from behind the arc, so that's going to be really hard. And then, I mean, the story of the game to me was it seemed like every single turnover Ohio State had, it was just like a straight line to the basket for Indiana, and they were able to get easy points in this one for them. So, some of that is on Ohio State turning it over, and the other side of that is Ohio State, when they turn it over, they didn't have guys back to really, stop them on defense or anything. So it was a tough night for Ohio State and a good night for Indiana. Russ, I know making you say nice things about Indiana is going to be hard, but I believe you can do it. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's another kind of bitter loss, maybe not on the Penn State level, but a bitter loss for Ohio State to go up 9 in the second half. You start nearing double-digit second-half leads, and you start to think, okay, this is a game we've got. But IU jumped right back in it. They went on an 8-0 run, made it a one-point game, and it was pretty much the Malik Reneau show in the second half. Malik Reneau, he's a very talented player, and I've said before on here, I've choked my way through some nice things about IU that they have very talented players. They do. They can be streaky at time. They can not, Mike Woodson makes some questionable decisions as far as who he runs his offense through on a given night, but this was definitely the night to feed Malik Reneau and get them that W in the second half. And, Ohio State, it's still, even as a team that had a 9-point lead in the second half and lost, it's still a game you shouldn't hang your head about too much, I don't think, because it's a road game in the Big Ten. I think that this is a league where you're going to have, we talk about power rankings. I don't know what 4 through 14 looks like. I think we could all agree that Purdue, Wisconsin, Illinois are the top 3, but after that, it's kind of anybody's game, and you're going to see a lot of games like this between Ohio State and Indiana and several other teams that we're going to talk about later that, this could be a game that decides what your seeding is in the Big Ten tournament. But I think as long as you guys can, as Ohio State can pick up, a couple road games in the Big Ten, finish 12-8, maybe 13-7, you're looking at 22, 23, 24 wins going in the tournament, and you're going to be really battle tested and still have a chance to make a Sweet 16 run. But yeah, Indiana just had better skill in the second half of this game. They hit their shots, and it showed that they had the better skilled players.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State, if they want to contend for a 4th or 5th spot in this conference, they're going to have to win road games like this. Road games when you're up against Penn State and Indiana. Not to say those are bad teams at all. I think Indiana's a little bit underrated. I like them a little bit more than some other people do. But especially Penn State. I mean, when you're up like you were against them, like those losses are going to come back to bite them. And I think it's going to cost them a bye in the Big Ten tournament. Kent, what were some of your thoughts on this IU Ohio State game?
The theme continues. I mean, it's hard to win on the road in this conference. It's the first 3 games we've talked about. It's really difficult to do it. Even if you are the better team, which I do think that Ohio State is a better team than Indiana. I don't think that that's outlandish to say. I know Indiana fans would probably think that it is, but had Ohio State, I'll defend them so you don't have to, JR. If Ohio State doesn't go ice cold the last 7 minutes of the game, they walk away from this with a massive win, because to me, they had control of it most of the first half and most of the second half too. I always take mental notes when a guy hits a big shot that I think kind of turned the momentum of the game into. In this game, for me, it was CJ Gunn. He hit a 2 that put him up 3, and it kind of shifted the momentum back to Indiana, gets the crowd back involved. And then the biggest shot of the night, I think, was his 3-pointer. It was with about 6 minutes to go. And that put him up 6, and it was just felt like at that point, all the air got taken out of the Buckeyes, and it was a little bit too much for them to overcome with that much time left. But I just felt like Ohio State just couldn't hit the shots. I thought that they ran decent stuff, and they just weren't knocking stuff down when they needed to. And Indiana took advantage of that, like you said, JR. You got to give them credit for that. They got the win. But at the end of the day, I still think Ohio State's a better team than them. I think on a neutral site, they win that game 8 times out of 10. That's how I feel. I just don't love Indiana this year. I like Khalil Ware a lot. Like Russ was saying, Malik Reneau, he's a really good player. I think they're finally starting to figure some stuff out together, and they're spacing on the court together. But other than those two guys, man, I don't like this team. So I'm just not a big fan. But congratulations to them on the win, I guess. I'll throw my hands up and say that.
I think Mbako is coming around. I think it was a little tough for him, and I know he only had 5 points in this game, and you can say he didn't have a great game, and he only played 14 minutes, so I don't think it was the best game for him in the world, but I do think he's coming back in this game a little bit. IU hit their 3-pointers in this one. They did what they had to do. They weren't great from behind the 3-point line, but 5 of 12, 41% from behind the arc. It's only 5 3-pointers, but that's a good percentage for IU this season. So, Russ, I want to read you some stats and you tell me what your thoughts are on them, because these are baffling to me. You ready?
I'm ready.
Ohio State, total rebounds, 49. Indiana, total rebounds, 27. Ohio State, total defensive rebounds, 26. Again, total rebounds for IU, 27. Total offensive rebounds for Ohio State, 16. Total defensive rebounds for IU, 19. I mean, if you rebound like that, you should win the game. Am I not wrong? Russ, I mean, you tell me here. You're the master of the rebounding god out there in Zach.
Yes. And we talked about this earlier with Wisconsin making the Big Ten look different on the basketball court. And that's an old adage in the Big Ten is you win the rebounding battle, you're going to win the war, you're going to win the game. And that just was, it's baffling. It's not the case, or wasn't the case in this game, but they also got 11 more shots off. Ohio State did, but they made 2 less shots in Indiana. So, if you're getting the rebounds, you've got to do something with it too. So, they, like you said, you brought up their shooting that wasn't that great. And, usually the numbers win, the volume plays out, and Ohio State does have talented players that should be able to hit those shots. But to shoot more than 10 shots more than your opponent, but make less than them, that's it's gonna be hard to win when you do that as well. So yeah,
right. And then Kent, the question for you. So Ohio State had 9 blocks in this game. IU only had 3. Do you agree with me that it seemed like IU was still the more intimidating team down low on the defensive side of the ball than Ohio State was, even though they had 6 less blocks?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty shocking. I think maybe some of those blocks come from the guard position? I mean, I don't remember them having
a couple. Yeah. I need to look at
that many, but yeah, I do agree. I think that, maybe it's because once Ohio State got inside, they just weren't shooting them. Like Russ was saying, they were so scared because I don't know what, man. But you're right. I do think that the guys down low were definitely more intimidating from in Indiana's perspective. Like you're saying, it felt like they had more. I'm surprised by that stat. I'm also really surprised by those rebounding stats. I know I said that it felt like Ohio State was controlling the game, but I did not know it was that dominant on the boards. That's insane that they lost this game to me.
Yeah, the problem is every time they got an offensive rebound, they just basically kicked it right back out. I mean, Felix Okpara had 6 points and 15 rebounds. And 5 of those were offensive rebounds. So, but yes, I was correct. Dale Bonner and Scotty Middleton both had 1, so that's a couple for guards. And then Zed Key had 2, and Felix Okpara had 5 blocks in this game.
It feels like Zed Key has been around for a long. I know he hasn't been, but I feel like I've been watching him play since I was playing basketball,
senior.
Which has been a long time, by the way. I haven't played since high school. So
he's a senior. Definitely not as long as Aaron Kraft, but
no, definitely not. But it just feels like he's been. I don't know. It's just I feel like I've been saying his name for a long time. Maybe it's because this is probably what it is. He hasn't transferred, has he? So it's weird to see a guy on the same team for this long.
Yeah, Xavier Johnson has been around for 6 years, but he has only had 3 at IU.
Yeah.
So yeah. Thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.